Welcome to a special edition of Flickering Dreams from the London Film Festival. In this special episode, I'm going to be interviewing Michael Jobling, who is the director of a nominated short film starring Adeel Akhtar called The Walk. First, you'll see a clip from the trailer of the film, and then you'll see my interview with Michael Jobling. It's notoriously difficult to find anywhere sensible to do a Zoom interview during the chaos of the London Film Festival, so apologies for the poor light quality and camera on my end of this Zoom recording. It was done in a corner of a very dark bar with a lot of background noise. Enjoy. Welcome, Michael Jobling, to Flickering Dreams. Thank you very much for your time.
My pleasure.
First of all, can you tell our listeners something about your short film, The Walk? Introduce it to them.
Yes, of course. Thank you. So The Walk, it was kind of inspired by a sort of predicament that people are currently facing in the UK, that me and the writer Sophie kind of stumbled across in an article about people who are having their bus routes cut. When it comes to them living in like smaller rural communities, people are finding that they're kind of being cut off and kind of almost like socially marooned. And the article that we saw kind of focused in on a man in his 50s who found that he had to do a 24-mile round trip every time he had to sign on at the job centre every week for his mandatory meetings. Mm-hmm. And our film that's kind of like the backdrop of the film. It's not necessarily like based on anyone in the article, but we sort of fictionalize someone, and that's the kind of context and the predicament he's got. But it kind of focuses more on what else is going on in his life, any of the sort of problems that maybe these articles don't have the time to sort of focus in on. So in our character's place, he's dealing with grief, he's dealing with alienation from his family, and we kind of wanted to focus on that.
Right. Yeah, I actually live in a small rural village in Hampshire, and guess what? Our bus service has just been cancelled. So your film absolutely talked to a topic. I mean, I'm lucky enough to have cars that I can use.
Yeah,
a lot of people in the village were not, and the kind of community rallied around with kind of lift share type arrangements, but there must be a lot of people who are disenfranchised. So I thought it was a very good topic for a film, and very well observed. So where did you come on the film, as it were? Was it working with your writer on this article? Did you effectively originate the film?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, Sophie Ellaby, who wrote the film, and it's her first film. She's normally a playwright. Had wanted to make film for a while, and so she had seen I think a music video that I'd previously made, and thought that maybe I'd be a good match. I think something that we kind of discussed when thinking about trying to figure out what we both found interesting and sort of what inspired us dramatically and stuff like that. It was I guess people that don't normally have a voice, and people that maybe sort of would normally go unseen, and I think sort of by putting them in the center of a film and sort of framing them quite cinematically and trying to understand their perception of the world, was something that really interested us. So that's kind of, and then we just stumbled upon the article, and sort of started learning more about, the issue of services being cut up and down the country.
Right. So would you say quite a strong political agenda behind the story? Are you the next Ken Loach?
No, this is the thing. It's interesting. I think that's certainly the backdrop of the film. It's not necessarily about that. We didn't want to make it feel like a sort of public service announcement film. I don't think we didn't want it to be like, here's a problem, pay attention to it. It was that's very much the context, the sort of the backstory of what's going on. That's why he is where he is, our character. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. We just felt that something that isn't focused on when you read these articles about these. It's so often presented to you in the form of statistics.
Yes.
It maybe doesn't delve into the fact that, well, maybe these people already have pre-existing problems, and now you've just lumped the massive issue of having no mobility, and sort of like socially marooning someone, only compounding their problems further. So it's really more about, I guess, the sort of the already existing problems going on in this man's life. But it's just been compounded by the fact that he has to attend these, largely pointless job centre meetings, and have to do these like massive walks to get there.
Yes.
All the while, these sort of external pressures and internal pressures are sort of pushing down on it.
Right. I mean, the elephant in the room here, I guess, is the fact that Adeel Akhtar is in your movie. Clearly, great star of Ali and Ava from, was it last year or year before last? Inspector Lestrade in Enola Holmes. I mean, a lot of big movies. You must have felt all your Christmases came at once when he came on board your project.
Yeah, I mean, I've been a massive fan of him for a long time. I mean, and largely for work that isn't really in any way similar to this.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, he kind of, I hadn't even seen Ali and Ava when he signed on, which, I kind of went and watched and was like, oh, this is, okay. So I know that he can kind of do this kind of world very well. But it was absolutely amazing. I think he was very, very generous with, with his expertise, really. And I think, to be honest, that's been the sort of common theme running throughout the whole film. I think, like, I would say arguably I'm probably the least experienced on the production in terms of out of the heads of department. Anna Griffin, the producer, has had a very illustrious career already so far with the feature films that she's produced through Wellington Films. And Sophie's an established playwright. Obviously, Adeel is a BAFTA-winning actor. Jermaine is, the DP, has shot a load of stuff. It was just like it was excellent to be amongst such talent and learn from all of them. And Adeel was no exception to that. He was very, very generous and
nice.
Collaborative.
So how did he come on board? How did that come about?
I think that was through so Sophie, the writer, I think I'd actually just met him at a kid's birthday party, which was really nice. And so but they hadn't talked about a project or anything. They just got on, exchange numbers sort of thing, just sort of like, had a nice time. And then by complete coincidence, Anna, the producer, just suggested it. And then Sophie was like, no way, I've just met him. And then so Adeel kind of like came on board without having ever seen any of my work. I still don't think he's seen any of my previous work, maybe not. It was more to work with Sophie, but then after him coming on board, me and him just sort of really got on like a house on fire. Really, it was phenomenal to work with.
Right. I've never heard of a star coming on board over jelly and ice cream before, so that's I actually made a point last year of watching all of the BAFTA and Oscar short films. I was fed up of getting to the ceremonies and saying, oh, I don't know what that is, and never seen that. How does a filmmaker go about getting onto those lists? Is that aspirational for you with this film?
Of course. I mean, like, it feels like a massive privilege to have even gotten, the BFI network. That was the first big thing for us. So that was our plan to get that. But past that, we didn't really know what we'd do. We probably looked for alternative sources, but like getting that was, I think, like a massive, seal of approval for me. I think, which I think I needed, because it had been a little while since I directed my last film before that. And I think, I'm not the only one like that had maybe a bit of a knock to their confidence during the pandemic and stuff like that, and amongst other personal issues. You know what I mean? So like, Anna coming on board, BFI funding, and then a deal, and then just favors being thrown here and there, like just people and institutions really wanting the film to happen. Basically, support from Kodak with supply of the film stock and stuff like that. Even down to that, the sort of materials and stuff like that. So that was it was I was very touched many times throughout the whole thing.
Right, great. I did enjoy the film myself, I have to say.
Thank you.
one of the things that stood out was the sound design. Points in the middle. I mean, the film kind of touches on mental issues, as it were, as well. At those particular points in the film, no spoilers here. I thought the sound design was really interesting.
Thank you. I think it's kind of my favourite part of filmmaking. Really, it's the thing that I'm thinking about earliest. Really, I think it's because it's just the most evocative for me in terms of the elements at a director's disposal. I think you can say so much. Like when you sort of, you can sort of have like a nice close-up shot of someone, but you can also be thinking about, right, well, there's a church bell ringing like 2 miles away. What is that? When does that come in? Does it come in like when he's just had the realization about something, or and like how intense is the sound of traffic outside? Like, is it barely perceptible, or is it quite overwhelming? I think like it can add volumes to any film that you make.
Literally.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. No pun intended, shall we say?
Yeah. How can our viewers and listeners see this film? Is it going to be on the big player?
Yeah, I think because it's been nominated for Best Short and is screening at the BFI London Film Festival, it will be available to watch on the BFI Player app. Which is a bit of a dream come true for me. I've subscribed to it for a long time.
Yes, me too. Yes. Okay. Well, that's great. What's next for you? Do you have another project in the works on the back of this one?
I've got several things that I'm writing, nothing in sort of like official development, but things that I've been working on for a long time. I've got a short film that actually was developed through a BFI short film development program, which I've been working on for a little while. And I'm currently in Albania writing a feature. With me and my brother. So that's something that will probably be in the works for quite a long time. But that's, sort of the next big thing that we're aiming for. But yeah, other shorts and stuff as well. Yeah.
Tremendous. Great. Well, Michael Jobling, thank you very much for your time on Flickering Dreams. Greatly enjoyed the film. If anybody wants to watch it, that's The Walk with Adeel Akhtar on the BFI Player. Michael Jobling, thank you very much for your time. And good luck.
Thank you so much. Hello?
Thank you so much for listening or watching Flickering Dreams. You can find the video version on YouTube and the audio version on all major podcast platforms. And don't forget to subscribe so you can get each of the weekly episodes as they are released. We'll see you at the movies.